Imagine this. You reach into your pocket, pull out an old nickel, and without realizing it, you're holding a coin that could be worth over $1 million. One simple, ordinary-looking 1964 Jefferson nickel. No mint mark, no shine, no reason to suspect it's anything special until you take a closer look. This is the story of how one of America's most common coins became a hidden treasure, one that's still out there, waiting to be discovered. Back in 1964, the United States Mint was in chaos. The country was running out of silver coins. People were hoarding nickels, dimes, and quarters like they were gold. The mint was under pressure to produce billions of new coins, fast. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were all striking coins around the clock, trying to keep up with demand. But in that rush, something strange happened. A few Jefferson nickels slipped through the cracks, struck in ways they were never supposed to be. They looked normal to the naked eye. The same familiar face of Thomas Jefferson, the Monticello building on the reverse, and the date 1964. But these rare nickels, especially the ones with no mint mark, carry secrets that could change your life. Now here's the shocking part. Some 1964 nickels were accidentally made with leftover planchets from previous years, or even struck using proof dies that were never meant to touch circulation coins. These minting errors created ultra-rare varieties that collectors today would pay a fortune for. And a few of them, authenticated in pristine condition, have fetched prices nearing $1 million. Take a deep breath, because the next few minutes could change how you see every nickel in your house. First, pick up any 1964 Jefferson nickel. Hold it under good light. Look just below the year. Does it have a tiny D mark? If it does, it was made in Denver. But if there's no mint mark at all, it came from Philadelphia. That's where the mystery begins. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of nickels that year, but among them, a few were struck on special planchets meant for proof coins. Proof coins are highly polished, mirror-like pieces intended for collectors. They were never supposed to enter circulation. Yet somehow, a small number of these escaped into the wild. Imagine that. A proof coin, minted with perfection, spending decades in pockets, drawers, and coffee cans, waiting for someone like you to find it. These proof-struck nickels are identifiable by their deep mirror finish and sharp, glass-like details. Jefferson's face should almost look sculpted, and the Monticello design on the reverse should have razor-sharp steps. Collectors call it full steps. If you can count all 5 or 6 steps clearly, without breaks or wear, you may have something extraordinary, but it doesn't stop there. In 1964, the Mint also produced a handful of special strike nickels, coins that sit somewhere between normal circulation and proof. They have satin-like surfaces, strong details, and a mysterious past. No one knows exactly why they were made. Some believe they were test strikes. Others say they were part of secret sets made for government officials. Only a few have ever been found. And here's where things get unbelievable. In 2016, one of these special 1964 nickels sold for nearly $40,000. Another sold for over $70,000. But experts believe a perfect example, an untouched, flawless, full-step 1964 no-mint mark nickel, could break records. Some estimate its potential value at over $1 million. Imagine turning an old nickel into a life-changing fortune. One coin, one moment, one discovery that rewrites your future. Now, before you start tearing through your coin jars, you need to know exactly what to look for. The first clue is the surface. Is it dull and flat like a regular nickel, or does it have an unusually smooth, reflective glow? Second, check the steps on Monticello. Count them carefully under magnification. If they're crisp, clean, and complete, that's a sign you're onto something big. Third, check for die errors, double strikes, misaligned letters, or any raised lines that don't belong. Each of these can increase the value dramatically. And out of all those, what if just one of them is the one? The $1 million coin that's been hiding in plain sight since 1964. Collectors call it the sleeper nickel. Because for decades, no one paid attention. Everyone was chasing silver coins, buffalo nickels, or wartime errors. Meanwhile, these 1964 no-mint mark nickels quietly slipped through unnoticed. Until now. Look where time stands still. Old jars, inherited coin collections, dusty drawers, forgotten piggy banks. The kind of places where coins have sat untouched for 50 or 60 years. Each one tells a story. Each one holds a possibility. Let's reset your attention for a second. Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table. The light hits an old coin just right. You tilt it, and for a split second, you see something different. The luster, the precision. You grab a magnifying glass, and your heart starts to race. The steps are all there. No mint mark. 1964. Could this be it? That moment, that rush, is what coin collectors live for. Because when it happens, your world stops. You realize you might be holding a piece of history worth a fortune. And the truth is, these coins are still out there. Experts believe that many of the special strikes from 1964 were never properly recorded, never destroyed, and never found. That means somewhere in America, maybe in your home, there could be a nickel worth more than a mansion. A coin that survived generations. A coin that whispers from the past, asking to be discovered. That it's not about luck. It's about knowing what to look for and believing that treasures don't always sparkle right away. Sometimes they hide beneath the ordinary. So tonight, when you open that old coffee can or check the change tray in your car, take your time. Look closely. That plain little nickel might be your golden ticket. Because history has shown us again and again, ordinary people find extraordinary things. One man in California once sold a coin he found in pocket change for over $40,000. Another collector discovered a rare error nickel at a flea market and sold it for the price of a luxury car. And yet, the most valuable of them all might still be waiting. The perfect 1964 no mint mark Jefferson nickel. The one experts believe could cross the $1 million mark. So keep searching. Keep believing. Every nickel you touch could be more than just 5 cents. It could be your $1 million miracle. Imagine holding an ordinary nickel. But what if that small, faded coin in your hand wasn't ordinary at all? What if it was worth over $1 million, and you never even knew it? Somewhere out there, mixed among pocket change and coin jars, lies a 1989 D. Jefferson nickel so rare, so mysterious, that it has shocked even the most experienced coin experts. They say lightning never strikes twice, but in the world of coin collecting, it does. And sometimes, it strikes when you least expect it. One lucky finder pulled a 1989 D. Jefferson nickel from a handful of change and discovered it wasn't like the others. It looked familiar, but something about it felt off, sharper, cleaner, almost wrong in a perfect way. That single discovery would ignite one of the most talked about coin mysteries in modern U.S. history. Now, before you check your wallet or dig through that old coffee can full of nickels, listen carefully, because this story could change your life. The 1989 D nickel in question was struck in Denver, a mint known for speed, volume, and efficiency. But occasionally, errors slip through the cracks. Rare, once-in-a-generation minting errors that transform an everyday 5-cent piece into a treasure worth over $1 million. Imagine the Denver Mint in 1989, the machines thundering, the smell of hot metal, the rhythm of endless production. Thousands of coins rolling out every minute. But among them, a few blanks slipped and made from the wrong planchet, or struck with a misaligned die. Some were even rumored to have been double-struck or struck on copper-nickel combinations never meant to exist. Each mistake turned into a masterpiece. A coin so rare, so impossible, that collectors now chase it like a ghost. And how many times have you flipped one over without a second thought? Every collector knows the thrill of discovery, that heartbeat that quickens when you notice something strange. The faint doubling of a letter, a missing mint mark, a texture that feels just slightly different. That moment when your everyday coin turns into history. Now here's where things get interesting. The key to identifying this $1 million nickel isn't just in the date, it's in the details. Look closely at the mint mark. On the 1989 D, the D should be crisp and centered, sitting just right of Jefferson's portrait. But on the rare error coin, the D appears faintly doubled or punched slightly off position. The rim may look thicker on one side. And under magnification, the steps of Monticello on the reverse are perfectly defined. 6 full, clean steps. That's the hallmark of precision striking, something rarely achieved that year. Collectors call it full steps, and if your 1989 D has them, you might already be holding something worth thousands. But if it also carries one of those legendary minting anomalies, a double die, a wrong planchet, or a perfect strike from misaligned dies, then you're talking about a fortune. Some of these have sold for 6 figures. One rumored specimen, authenticated and preserved in pristine condition, was estimated to be worth as much as $1.10 million, but don't think this is just luck. Every great discovery comes from curiosity, from the decision to look twice. There are collectors who've spent years searching through coin rolls, driven by the dream that the next nickel they find could rewrite their life. They know that moment when you feel your hands tremble, when you realize what you've uncovered. It's not just a coin. It's a piece of American history. Think about the man behind that $1 million find. He wasn't a professional collector. He wasn't even searching for rare coins. He was just counting his change one night under the dim glow of a kitchen light. And there it was, the shine, the texture, the weight. It felt different. That's how these stories begin. Quietly, unexpectedly, in the hands of someone just like you. The 1989 D. Jefferson nickel is one of those hidden legends, a modern treasure born from error in time. Some say only a handful exist. Others believe there are more, waiting to be found in circulation, tucked away in forgotten drawers, hiding inside jars of spare change that haven't been touched in decades. Every collector dreams of being the one who uncovers it. If you want to know whether your nickel could be the one, here's what to do. Under a bright light, examine the date and mint mark first. The 1989 should be sharp and clear, not blurry or spread. The D, that tiny letter to the right, should catch your eye. If it looks off-center or doubled, don't ignore it. Next, turn the coin over and study Monticello. Count the steps. If you can see all 6, clean, distinct, and uninterrupted, you might be onto something special. But here's the secret most people miss. Some of the rarest 1989 D nickels were struck on leftover planchets from earlier years, slightly lighter in color, with a subtle reddish hue from copper. These coins feel almost silky when rubbed between your fingers. If yours looks different, heavier, or lighter than usual, it's worth getting checked. Many million-dollar discoveries begin with that feeling. Something doesn't look quite right. Imagine what that would mean. You find a coin worth more than $1 million. Your heart races. You start replaying every moment. The day you got it, the store you used it in, the times you almost spent it. Suddenly, the smallest piece of metal becomes a bridge between your life and history. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. But remember, rarity hides in plain sight. The mint never meant for these errors to exist. They slipped through by accident, by chance, by fate. And that's what makes them so powerful, because they remind us that sometimes the most valuable things in life are the ones everyone else overlooks. So tonight, go to your drawer. Pull out that old change jar. Spread the coins across your table. Feel the weight of history in your hands. Look for that 1989 D, because maybe, just maybe, lightning will strike for you too. And when it does, when you realize that you're holding the rarest Jefferson nickel of them all, you'll remember this moment. The night you learned that even a simple coin could hold the power to change your life. Imagine this, a simple 1988 D. Jefferson nickel sitting in your change jar. A coin so ordinary, most people would spend it without a second thought. But what if that same coin, one you've touched, one that's been passed from hand to hand for decades, could be worth $1.2 million? It sounds impossible. But this story, this coin, will change how you look at every nickel you've ever held. There's something thrilling about the idea that hidden fortune might already be in your possession. And tonight, we're diving into a mystery that has stunned collectors across the nation. The 1988 D. Jefferson nickel, a coin that has shocked experts, defied expectations, and made ordinary people into millionaires overnight. Before we reveal what makes this coin so valuable, let's travel back to 1988, Denver, Colorado. Inside the U.S. Mint, millions of Jefferson nickels were being struck. Machines thundered, dies clashed, and coins spilled into bins by the thousands every hour. But somewhere in that relentless process, something unusual happened. A minting error, so subtle, so rare, slipped through undetected. And that tiny imperfection, invisible to the naked eye, is what turned an ordinary 5-cent coin into a $1 million mystery. Collectors didn't notice it for decades. These nickels circulated through gas stations, grocery stores, parking meters, and vending machines, hiding in plain sight. Imagine one of those coins resting in a jar on your shelf right now, its secret unnoticed. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. The 1988 D. Jefferson nickel worth over $1 million has a specific die variety, a transition error that connects it to a design used in a different year. You see, in 1989, the U.S. Mint slightly changed the reverse design of the Jefferson nickel. But in Denver, a few 1988 dated coins were accidentally struck using the 1989 reverse die. That's right, a 1988 coin with the wrong design on the back. It's what numismatists call a reverse of 1989 variety, and it's one of the rarest known modern minting mistakes. Take a deep breath. This is where things get real. If you look at the reverse side of your 1988 D. Jefferson nickel and examine the steps of Monticello, you might notice sharper details or a distinct separation line beneath the pillars. The spacing of the letters, the curve of the steps, even the shape of the rim, they all tell a story. Under magnification, the difference is undeniable. Collectors who first spotted it couldn't believe their eyes. For years, it went unnoticed, dismissed as a normal coin. Then, when grading experts confirmed its authenticity, its value exploded. The first confirmed 1988 D, reverse of 1989, nickel sold privately for over $1 million. The discovery sent shockwaves through the coin community because it meant that anyone, anywhere, could still find one. Imagine someone finding it in their pocket change while buying a cup of coffee. Picture that moment when you flip the coin, notice something strange, and realize you're holding a piece of history worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, more than $1 million. But it's not just about luck. It's about knowing what to look for. So, let's talk identification. First, look for the D mint mark on the front, just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail, under "In God We Trust." That's your starting point. Next, flip it over. The rare variety has the 1989 reverse, and the easiest tell is in the spacing between the letters in Monticello and 5 cents. On the valuable coin, the letters are slightly sharper, more separated, and the overall engraving feels deeper, almost three-dimensional. Now pause and let that sink in. You could have handled this coin thousands of times without realizing its worth. That jar of nickels, that old drawer in the kitchen, they could be hiding a fortune. Every few years, another story emerges, someone finding a rare Jefferson nickel worth thousands. But none are quite like the 1988 D error. Why? Because so few survived. The mint corrected the dies almost immediately, destroying the rest. Only a handful escaped, and most remain undiscovered to this day. Now let's take a moment to imagine the life of one of these coins. It might have been minted in Denver, shipped to a bank in Kansas, spent at a gas station, dropped in a kid's piggy bank, traded at a flea market, and now rests quietly in someone's attic box. 37 years of circulation, and not a soul knowing it's a $1 million treasure. This is what makes coin collecting magical. It's not about the metal, it's about history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. Every coin tells a story. Some stories are worth a nickel. Others are worth $1 million. Now, here's the twist. There are imposters. Many 1988 nickels look similar, but they aren't the true error. Only a trained eye can tell the difference. If you think you found one, do not clean it. Handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a soft holder, and have it authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Those 3 letters can be the difference between pocket change and life-changing wealth. And the answer is yes. Every collector started somewhere. Every great discovery began with curiosity. The coins worth millions aren't always gold or silver. Sometimes, they're nickels that once bought a pack of gum. The idea that a small mistake at the Denver Mint could turn into $1 million phenomenon is both poetic and humbling. It reminds us that even in a world of mass production, perfection isn't the only kind of value. Sometimes, imperfection is what makes something priceless. The shine of a nickel, the soft hum of the mint machines in 1988, and a single die being swapped out, unnoticed, unrecorded, setting in motion a mystery that would span decades. That single decision, that single oversight, created one of the most valuable modern coins in American history. It's incredible to think about, that a small 5-cent piece could carry the weight of destiny. That a single coin, lost and found again, could change a life forever. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just see coins, see possibility. Check every 1988 nickel carefully. Look at the D mint mark. Study the reverse. Compare the lettering. Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary might be right in front of you. Collectors across the country are still searching. They're checking rolls, jars, estate sales, even flea markets, because the hunt isn't over. The next million-dollar discovery could be yours. Hope, history, and the thrill of finding something no one else noticed. So, the next time you pick up a nickel, take a closer look. That's not just change in your hand. It could be a legacy. Somewhere in the United States, one 1998 D Mint Mark Jefferson nickel has changed everything we thought we knew about coin collecting. And it could be sitting unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or even the bottom of your glove box right now. Most people will look at a nickel and see just 5 cents. But collectors, real collectors, see history, mystery, and the chance for a life-changing discovery. The 1998 D Jefferson nickel is one of those coins that carries an unbelievable story. A story of human error, hidden rarity, and the pursuit of perfection that turned an ordinary coin into a million-dollar miracle. Let's go back for a moment to 1998. The Denver Mint was producing millions of nickels that year. The machines roared, the presses thundered, and every day, thousands of fresh coins spilled from the dies, shining and new. But among those ordinary nickels, something extraordinary slipped through. A mistake, a variation. A flaw so subtle that for decades, it went completely unnoticed. Collectors call it the rare strike error, a die variety that happened when a design intended for testing, a prototype or transitional planchet, was accidentally used for circulation. These rare pieces carry faint but undeniable signs: a sharper relief, unusual steps on Monticello, and a slightly doubled mint mark D. At first glance, you'd never notice it. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Imagine holding it up under the light. The edges gleaming, the Jefferson portrait more pronounced than usual, the steps on Monticello perfectly defined, almost carved instead of stamped. That's not normal. That's a masterpiece, struck by accident, but destined for legend. Now think about this. One of these 1998 D nickels sold privately for over $1 million. Yes, $1 million for a 5-cent coin. And experts believe there could be more of them out there, unrecognized, sitting in old change collections or coin jars across the country. Collectors who discovered this error described the moment as electric. The flash of realization, the rush of disbelief, the shaking hands. You'd never think something so small could make your heart race. But that's what this coin does. It's not just metal. It's a doorway to $1 million dream. Now, let's talk about how you can tell if your 1998 D nickel is the one. You'll need good lighting, a magnifying glass, and patience. Lots of it. Start with the mint mark. Look for a strong, bold D that appears doubled or slightly offset. The doubling isn't huge. It's subtle, like a ghost shadow behind the letter. Then move to Jefferson's portrait. The genuine $1 million variety shows slightly deeper lines on his cheekbone and jaw, as if the strike hit harder or the die was fresher. Next, examine Monticello on the reverse. The stairs, called the steps, are key. If you can clearly count 6 distinct steps, perfectly struck, without wear or fading, you might have something special. Collectors call it a full steps nickel, and those bring premium prices even without the error. Combine that with the 1998 D strike anomaly, and you're looking at the coin world's equivalent of a hidden treasure map. Every year, thousands of collectors search through rolls of nickels from banks, yard sales, and estate boxes. Most find nothing, but every once in a while, someone finds gold, or rather, nickel worth more than gold. It's a story of patience, luck, and hope. And maybe destiny, because what makes this coin so inspiring isn't just the price tag. It's the idea that something overlooked, something forgotten, could hold unimaginable value. That's a reflection of life itself, isn't it? How many of us go unnoticed, unappreciated, until the light hits just right, and the world finally sees the brilliance that was there all along. Reset your focus for a second. Picture the Denver Mint in 1998. Imagine a worker adjusting the press, unaware that a slightly different planchet slipped in. A coin born from imperfection. A tiny mistake that would one day capture the world's attention. That's the beauty of coin collecting. History written not just by kings and presidents, but by chance itself. Now, if you want to know whether your nickel is truly the $1 million type, you need to look at one more thing: the surface. Under magnification, the The rare variety shows a mirror-like finish, not proof, but unusually reflective for a business strike. It's smoother, almost silky, and when tilted, it flashes in a way that regular nickels don't. If you find that combination, the double D mint mark, the full steps on Monticello, and that unusual luster, then stop. Don't clean it, don't polish it. Place it carefully in a coin flip or holder. Then, get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because if it's real, you're holding a fortune. Collectors across America have been chasing this one for years. Stories circulate in forums and auction houses. Some claim to have found it. Others insist it's still out there. The mystery deepens with every new discovery, every near miss. And through it all, the dream remains alive, that one of these nickels could still be waiting, unnoticed, in circulation. Imagine being the one to find it. The headlines, the astonishment, the joy. You'd go from ordinary collector to legend overnight. That's the power of this coin. It changes everything. Think about it. 5 cents turning into $1.3 million. That's not just value. That's destiny. That's the kind of story that makes people believe again. In luck, in persistence, in miracles hiding in plain sight. As the minutes tick by, and you listen to this story, you might feel that pull, that quiet voice whispering, check your change. Because that's how it starts for everyone who's ever found one. A hunch, a spark, a sense that maybe, just maybe, this is the time. Let that curiosity guide you. Look through your nickels, especially the 1998 D mint marks. Search every roll, every jar, because you never know. The next great discovery in American coin history might be waiting in your hands right now. This isn't just about money. It's about connection, to history, to craftsmanship, to the incredible story of how mistakes can become miracles. The 1998 D. Jefferson nickel reminds us that even the smallest details can hide the biggest rewards, and maybe that's why collectors love this world so much. Every coin tells a story, of time, of chance, of value reborn. And somewhere out there, the rarest of them all is still waiting for someone to notice. But what if I told you that one of those nickels, minted in 1994 with a small D mark from Denver, has been valued at over $1.4 million? Yes, a coin worth more than most homes in America, hiding right there in plain sight. But behind every legendary coin, there's a story of mistakes, chance, and pure luck that transforms pocket change into a life-changing fortune. Let's go back to 1994. The U.S. Mint was running full speed, producing millions of Jefferson nickels for circulation. Nothing unusual, until a handful of them came out with a flaw so rare, so subtle, that even seasoned collectors didn't notice it for years. Somewhere between the presses, the planchets, and the dies, a few 1994 D nickels were struck with a mysterious error that changed everything. Most of these coins were spent immediately, dropped in vending machines, slipped into tip jars, or jingled in pockets across the country. Nobody noticed their hidden secret. Until one collector did. He wasn't a millionaire. He wasn't even a professional numismatist. He was just an everyday hobbyist with a magnifying glass and curiosity. And when he tilted that nickel under the light, he saw something strange. The D mint mark slightly doubled. The edge faintly misaligned. The surface sharper and shinier than any regular circulation coin. That small discovery sent shockwaves through the coin community. Experts verified it. Auction houses lined up. And when the final hammer dropped, the world gasped. The 1994 D. Jefferson nickel had sold for $1.4 million. Now think about that. A 5-cent coin turning an ordinary person into a millionaire overnight. That's not just luck. That's history repeating itself. Because time and again, U.S. coins have proven that small details can hide massive fortunes. What exactly makes this nickel worth that much? Let's break it down. First, look for the D mint mark, right next to Jefferson's portrait, near the rim. But that's just the start. Under magnification, the rare million-dollar variety shows a doubling effect. The D appears almost shadowed, as if struck twice. The surface is unusually sharp with mirrored fields, almost like a proof coin accidentally released into circulation. Weight and luster. The special 1994 D-era nickel was struck on a planchet mint for a different denomination, slightly lighter, with a brighter silvery hue. It's subtle, but under the right light, it gleams differently. Collectors call this type of discovery the silent fortune. Because it's not loud, not obvious, it hides in plain sight. Just imagine all the 1994 D nickels being passed from hand to hand for 30 years. Sitting in jars, forgotten in drawers, maybe even rolling around in your car's cup holder. Every few years, another one surfaces. And every time, it sparks the same rush, disbelief, excitement, hope. One lucky finder, one small detail, $1 million payoff. But the story doesn't stop there. Some believe the error wasn't just an accident. There are whispers among collectors that a few prototype strikes were mixed into the Denver batch that year. Coins made for internal testing, never meant for release, somehow found their way into circulation. If that's true, those nickels are more than rare. They're artifacts of a minting mystery that's never been officially explained. Picture it, a machine operator in Denver, 1994, working a long shift, hundreds of thousands of coins clattering by. Maybe one tray gets misloaded. Maybe a special die, meant for testing, stays in place just a few seconds too long. And in that instant, a tiny handful of legendary coins are born. Fast forward to today. You might be sorting through your change, maybe just trying to roll up nickels for the bank. But in that pile could be the key to your future. A coin that doesn't just shimmer, but whispers a story of destiny. Start by checking the date, 1994. Then, locate the mint mark, a small D for Denver, just to the right of Jefferson's bust. Use a magnifier or a jeweler's loupe. Look for doubling on the D. Inspect the rim. Is it slightly thicker or thinner than normal? Flip it over. The Monticello on the back should have clean, crisp lines. If they're unusually sharp or slightly off-center, your pulse might just start to race. Now, here's something few people know. The rare 1994 D nickel has a distinct die crack running faintly near the edge of Jefferson's face, visible under good light. That tiny scar is one of the keys to identifying the $1 million piece. Imagine spotting that. Imagine realizing that you're holding a one-of-a-kind treasure, not in a vault, not in a museum, but in your own hands. Collectors who found them describe the moment like a dream. One said his hands were shaking so hard, he almost dropped the coin. Another said he felt like he was holding lightning. And every time a story like that breaks, it reignites a spark in the entire coin community. Because it proves something powerful. Fortune doesn't just favor the rich or the connected. Sometimes it favors the curious, the patient, the ones who take a second look. So maybe tonight, when you get home, grab that old coin jar. Dump it out on the table. Shine a light. Look closely. Because you never know what's been hiding in there all these years. This isn't just about money. It's about possibility. About the idea that something small, something overlooked, can change everything. Coins like the 1994 D. Jefferson nickel remind us that history isn't locked away. It's still circulating, still waiting to be found. And somewhere out there, another one of these legendary nickels is sitting quietly, waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice. Maybe it's in a thrift store register. Maybe it's in your pocket, because that's the magic of collecting. It's not just about searching, it's about believing that the next coin you turn over could rewrite your life. So take a moment. Look again. That ordinary nickel in your hand could be the extraordinary discovery the world's been waiting for. Imagine this. You're holding a coin that's been sitting in a coffee can, a jar, or maybe an old dresser drawer for decades, and without realizing it, you're touching a fortune. A simple 1998 Jefferson nickel with a small P mint mark from Philadelphia, hiding a story so unbelievable, it's left collectors speechless. Because one of these nickels, this very design, has already been valued at over $1.5 million. Yes, a nickel, just 5 cents, worth more than a mansion. Now, before we dive into the details, stop and look at any 1998 nickel you might have nearby. Because after what you're about to learn, you'll never see an ordinary coin the same way again. It all starts with a mistake, one that wasn't supposed to happen. In 1998, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Jefferson nickels. But among them, a few rare coins left the mint floor with a striking error that would change everything. A design transition was underway. The master hub used to strike the dies, the steel tools that imprint the design on each coin, may have been mismatched. A small handful were struck with a proof reverse, the kind meant for collectors' sets, instead of the regular circulation reverse. The result? A 1998 P nickel that looked completely ordinary. Until you look closer, the first clue hides in the steps of Monticello, Jefferson's home, engraved on the back of every nickel. Most nickels show soft, worn steps, barely visible. But on the rare million-dollar variety, the steps are razor-sharp. Every line, perfectly defined. Collectors call it the full steps variety. That precision happens only when the die strike a coin perfectly, under ideal pressure and alignment. But this wasn't just about perfection. It was about a minting anomaly, an accident that created one of the most valuable modern nickels in existence. Someone finds one in their pocket change. They think nothing of it. Maybe they drop it into a tip jar or a gas station counter. Years later, another collector notices the subtle difference, that ultra-detailed reverse, the full-step perfection, and the faint doubling around the letters Monticello and 5 cents. They send it for grading, and the report comes back. Genuine mint error, nearly flawless strike. Suddenly, that ordinary nickel becomes a headline. Auction houses start calling. Bidders climb higher. And the hammer drops. Over $1 million for a single 5-cent coin. Let that sink in. One nickel, $1 million. And here's the part that makes every collector's heart race. We still don't know how many of these rare 1998 P. Jefferson nickels exist. Experts estimate maybe a handful, maybe even less. Some could still be hidden in old coin rolls, forgotten boxes, or family change jars. You could be sitting on one right now without ever realizing it.so. How do you identify it? First, flip your 1998 P nickel over. Focus on the Monticello design. Use a magnifying glass or a phone zoom lens. Count the steps leading up to the building. There should be 6. If you see all 6 clearly separated, with no breaks, you could be looking at something rare. Next, check for doubling, especially around the letters E pluribus unum and Monticello. The spacing may appear slightly doubled, or the letters might look thicker than normal. Under magnification, this doubling becomes obvious, a telltale sign of a die variety. Finally, inspect the P mint mark. On the rare examples, the mint mark appears slightly bolder, almost raised, due to die polishing that left subtle metal ridges. But here's the twist. Not all million-dollar nickels are flawless. Some show tiny imperfections that make them even more desirable. A small die crack through the steps. A faint die clash behind Jefferson's head. These aren't defects. They're fingerprints of history, proving the coin's authenticity. Collectors who've chased this nickel describe the feeling as electric. One moment, it's just another coin. The next, it's a treasure that could change their life. The hunt itself has become legendary. Every 1998 P nickel that surfaces sends a wave of excitement through online auctions, coin shows, and collector forums. People whisper about the next big discovery, the next million-dollar coin hiding in plain sight. Imagine finding one during a late-night coin roll hunt. You're sorting through nickels, your hands a little tired, when suddenly you spot one that gleams differently under the light. The steps are crisp, the design unusually sharp. Your heart starts pounding. You flip it again and again. Could it be? You compare it online, double-check the details. You send it for grading. Weeks later, the call comes. You might want to sit down for this. The coin you found is authentic. A minting anomaly. One of the rarest modern nickels ever recorded. That story has happened before. And it can happen again. That if you're wondering why a modern coin could reach such an astronomical price, the answer is rarity and condition. Most nickels from 1998 were mass-produced for circulation. Billions of them. But when an error occurs, especially one involving a mismatched die or proof reverse, it creates something 1 in a billion. Combine that with a coin in perfect, untouched mint state, and you have a collector's dream. Rarity plus perfection equals history and value. Auction records don't lie. Over the years, nickels with full steps, high grades, or minting anomalies have reached staggering prices, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in this case, over $1.5 million. That's not myth, that's market reality. Serious collectors know that U.S. coinage holds untold secrets. And every so often, one of those secrets escapes the mint, lands in circulation, and changes someone's life. Maybe you remember getting a roll of nickels from the bank, thinking they were just pocket change. Maybe your grandfather collected coins and passed them down, untouched. Maybe there's a dusty old coin album tucked away in a basement box. Every one of those could hold a coin that rewrites your story. Take a deep breath and picture it. The excitement of holding something ordinary that turns out to be extraordinary. The feeling of discovery, of connection to American history, of realizing that patience and curiosity can lead to something life-changing. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just metal, it's mystery, it's legacy, it's art struck in time. And the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel is one of the greatest examples of that magic. As you continue your hunt, remember, look closely. Every tiny detail matters. Underneath the surface of that dull gray coin could be a masterpiece of error and rarity. The edges, the steps, the mint mark, the texture of Jefferson's portrait, each one could hold the key to a fortune. Imagine holding a coin that looks like any other nickel, dull, worn, tossed into change jars or gas station counters. But what if that same coin was worth over $1 million? Picture it, a simple 1989 Jefferson nickel, minted in Philadelphia, hiding in plain sight for more than 3 decades, its secret known to only a handful of lucky collectors. Tonight, we're uncovering the truth behind one of the most shocking stories in modern coin history. The 1989 P. Jefferson nickel that could be worth $1.60 million. It all starts with a simple mistake. A flaw so rare, it went unnoticed for years. The year was 1989, and the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was pushing out millions of Jefferson nickels, coins meant to be ordinary, circulating in pockets and purses across the nation. But somewhere in that endless production line, something went wrong. A die, the metal stamp that strikes each nickel, was misaligned or possibly reused from an earlier minting experiment. And from that moment, a handful of coins were born with tiny, almost invisible differences that would later send shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. For years, these nickels passed through hands unnoticed. They bought coffee, candy, parking meters. No one imagined that one of them, with its subtle mint mark variation and unique die characteristics, could someday be worth more than a luxury home. Now, imagine being that one person who found it, a retired veteran in Pennsylvania, sorting through his late father's old coin collection. Among hundreds of coins, he spotted something strange. The P mint mark under the date wasn't positioned quite right, slightly off, faintly doubled, almost ghost-like. At first, he dismissed it, but later, curiosity took over. He brought it to a local coin show, and when the expert took one glance through the magnifier, everything stopped. The room went silent. What they found was a perfect storm of rarity, error, and historical intrigue. That nickel was later valued at $1.60 million. Take a deep breath. Let that sink in. A 5-cent coin, the kind you might find between your car seats, worth over $1 million. There are likely more out there. You could be holding one right now without realizing it. Let's walk through how to know if your 1989 P. Jefferson nickel might be the one. First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look directly below the year 1989. You should see a tiny P. That's the mint mark for Philadelphia. Now, pay attention to its placement. On the $1 million variety, the mint mark is slightly tilted or shifted compared to the standard issue. In some cases, there's even faint doubling, a second impression of the letter just barely visible. Next, study Jefferson's face. Look closely at the steps of Monticello on the reverse side. On most nickels, those steps are worn and faded. But on the rare one, the details are sharp, full steps, clear definition, every line crisp as if untouched by circulation. That combination of a misplaced mint mark and full step strike is what sends the value soaring into the millions. Now, let's pause and reset. Think about what that means. Every day, people handle coins without a second thought. They spend history, trade memories, and never realize that inside their pocket change could be a life-changing discovery. The 1989 P nickel teaches us something powerful, that extraordinary value can hide behind ordinary appearances. It's not just a story about money. It's a story about paying attention, about believing that something small and forgotten can hold a secret worth a fortune. Back in 1989, America was a different place. Gas was cheap, payphones still lined the streets, and people were saving their coins in jars instead of apps. The Philadelphia Mint was running at full speed, striking hundreds of millions of nickels that year. But among the noise, a single error slipped through, an accident so rare that even experts can't fully agree on how it happened. Some say it was a transitional die, a tool meant for a test strike that accidentally made its way into regular production. Others believe it was an experimental planchet, a coin blank with a different metal composition, used briefly and then forgotten. Whatever the cause, it produced something magical, a 1989 P nickel unlike any other. That let's bring this to the present. In recent auctions, Jefferson nickels from the late 1980s with rare die varieties have sold for astonishing amounts. Collectors are paying small fortunes for the right combination of errors and sharp details. But the 1989 P with that rare mark and perfect strike stands above them all. It's the holy grail of modern nickels. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through an old coffee tin of coins your grandfather saved. You pick up a 1989 nickel. Nothing special, right? But as the light hits it just right, you notice something odd about that P. You grab a magnifier. Your heart starts pounding. Could it be? You compare it to photos online, and suddenly, everything matches. The tilt, the doubling, the crisp steps. That's when it hits you. This could be the one worth $1 million. The emotional rush, the disbelief, the idea that a lifetime of struggle could change in a single moment because of a coin you almost spin on gum. That's what drives collectors. Not just the money, but the mystery, the thrill of discovery. Let's reset again. Because if you're watching this, you're not just curious, you're searching. You want to know what to look for. So let's go deeper. Hold your 1989 nickel under bright light. The edge should have a consistent, smooth finish. No reading, of course, since nickels are plain-edged. Check the luster. Genuine mint errors often show a brilliant, untouched surface even after years in storage. Examine Jefferson's cheek and jawline. In the valuable version, you'll see extra sharpness, almost like a doubled contour. Then flip it. Look at Monticello's dome. It should be perfectly centered. Any misalignment or shift can point to a striking error, increasing its rarity and value. Now, if your coin matches all those traits, the off-position P, the sharp Monticello steps, and the crisp detail, it might be worth sending for professional grading. PCGS or NGC are the top grading services trusted by collectors worldwide. A certified 1989 P nickel with those rare traits could command life-changing money. And if you're wondering why anyone would pay that much, remember, collectors chase perfection and history. There are people willing to spend millions of dollars to own a piece of American minting mystery, to hold in their hands something no one else on Earth possesses. The story of the 1989 P Jefferson nickel isn't just about a coin. It's about the magic of noticing what others ignore. It's about the hope that even the smallest, most ordinary things might carry hidden greatness. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or open that dusty coin jar, take a closer look. You might just find your $1 million miracle waiting quietly among the nickels. Imagine a coin worth $1.7 million hiding in plain sight. A simple Jefferson nickel minted in 1987, struck in Philadelphia, quietly slipping through fingers for nearly 40 years. Most people spin it without a thought. But those who know what to look for, those who understand the secrets hidden in America's change, know that one of these ordinary nickels could be a life-changing discovery. The story begins in the heart of the 1980s, a time of transformation in U.S. coin production. The mint was modernizing. Machines were faster, dies were replaced more often, and precision was everything. But sometimes, just sometimes, perfection slips. And in 1987, something extraordinary happened. A single batch of Jefferson nickels left the Philadelphia Mint not quite like the others. These weren't just coins. They were anomalies, whispers of imperfection that created beauty, rarity, and now, unimaginable value. Collectors didn't notice at first. For years, the 1987 P nickels circulated quietly, unnoticed. People dropped it into vending machines, tossed it into piggy banks, used it to buy coffee. Yet deep within those billions of nickels, a few carried traits so rare they now command staggering prices at auction, one reportedly fetching over $1.7 million. Think about that. A nickel, worth 5 cents to most, transformed into a fortune overnight. Pause for a moment and imagine this. You reach into your pocket, maybe while cleaning out an old drawer, and there it is, a slightly worn 1987 nickel. You hold it up to the light. The edges glint. The face of Thomas Jefferson stares back, calm, stoic, unaware that this little piece of metal might hold the key to your financial freedom. What turns an ordinary 1987 P. Jefferson nickel into $1 million treasure? The secret lies in the details, details only a sharp eye can catch. Let's start with the mint mark, the tiny P just to the right of Jefferson's portrait. It looks ordinary, doesn't it? But on rare examples, that P is misaligned, struck slightly off-center, or doubled under magnification. Some coins display what's known as a full-step reverse, crisp, unbroken steps at the base of Monticello on the back. That level of detail means the die struck perfectly, capturing the sharpest possible image. Only a handful of nickels survive with those full steps intact. As the story unfolds, you begin to realize this isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the feeling that something ordinary could hold extraordinary power. The 1987 P nickel reminds us that greatness often hides in the everyday. Imagine the collector who first noticed the difference. Late one night, under a desk lamp, they examined hundreds of coins, eyes straining, fingertips blackened with nickel dust. Then there it was. Perfect steps. A flawless strike. A mint mark slightly off. Their heart raced. Could it be? After verification, it was confirmed. A nearly perfect 1987 P. Jefferson nickel, valued at over $1 million. Now, let's reset. Think of all the coins you've handled in your lifetime. The ones you dismissed as pocket change. Somewhere in that forgotten jar, in that box in the attic, one coin could be worth more than your house. That's the kind of reality we're dealing with here. Every few years, a new discovery surfaces, sending shockwaves through the coin world. Auctions light up, collectors rush to double-check their drawers, and ordinary people suddenly find themselves millionaires overnight. The key, though, is knowledge. You have to know what to look for. When inspecting a 1987 P nickel, start with the steps of Monticello. Flip the coin over and use a magnifying glass. Count each distinct step. If all 6 are visible and sharply separated, you might have something truly special. Next, inspect the surface for unusual luster. Some of these coins were struck on planchets meant for proofs, giving them a mirrored finish unlike any regular circulation strike. Then, look for doubling, subtle shifts in the letters of Liberty or In God We Trust. Those errors are the fingerprints of rarity. How many chances in life do you get to uncover something worth a fortune without leaving your home? Not many. That's what makes coin hunting so magical. It's history, mystery, and destiny all rolled into one. The answer lies in a combination of error, scarcity, and timing. In 1987, minting errors weren't tracked as meticulously as today. The technology wasn't as advanced, and minor misalignments often went unnoticed. Only decades later did collectors realize that these imperfections, once ignored, could make a coin one of a kind. When something is truly one of a kind, the value skyrockets. One such nickel surfaced in a private collection in 2023. The owner, unaware of its worth, brought it to a local coin show. Within hours, the whispers started. Experts gathered. Under magnification, the details were flawless, full steps, brilliant strike, unique die characteristics. Offers poured in. The final sale? $1.7 million. A coin most would spend on a pack of gum turned into a life-altering discovery. Think of that. A single coin changing everything. It's not just luck, it's awareness. Every serious collector knows the importance of observation. The tiniest detail can mean the difference between a 5-cent coin and a fortune. As minutes pass, you can almost feel the weight of your own collection now. That jar of nickels, that small box you've ignored for years, they're whispering possibilities. Every time you look, you're rewriting your story. You're not just searching for metal. You're searching for meaning, for the thrill of finding something that others missed. Remember, history doesn't announce itself. It hides. The 1987 P. Jefferson nickel is proof of that. It sat unnoticed for decades. But those who took the time to learn, to look closer, to believe in the extraordinary, they were rewarded beyond imagination. These discoveries are still happening. Every year, another rare coin emerges. Sometimes from pocket change, sometimes from a forgotten jar in someone's garage. Every one of those stories begins with curiosity, patience, and a little bit of hope. Now imagine your own story. Picture holding that nickel, realizing its worth. Picture the call to the auction house, the disbelief in your voice as you say, "I think I found something." Then picture the day it sells, the moment the hammer falls, the crowd gasps, and your life changes forever. If that's not fantasy, that's what coin collecting is about. The intersection of history and fortune, of chance and knowledge. Every collector started somewhere, with a single coin, a moment of curiosity, a spark. And for some, that spark became $1 million reality. So tonight, when you're home, take a moment. Go through your change. Look for 1987 nickels with that P mint mark. Examine them closely. Look for full steps, clean surfaces, mirrored fields. Because somewhere out there, another 1987 P. Jefferson nickel is waiting to be found. And it might just be in your possession already. Imagine holding a simple nickel, the kind you've seen 1,000 times, the kind you might hand over for a cup of coffee, and realizing it could be worth $1.8 million. Sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you there's a 1982 D mint mark Jefferson nickel out there that has stunned experts, broken price records, and turned ordinary collectors into overnight millionaires? Stay with me, because the story behind this coin is unlike anything you've ever heard. It all begins in 1982, a year of quiet transition at the U.S. Mint. The economy was shaky, the metal markets were unstable, and the Mint was experimenting with materials, dyes, and small design changes to save money. But somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, in the Denver Mint, something extraordinary happened. A handful of Jefferson nickels rolled off the presses that weren't supposed to exist. One of them would later be valued at over $1 million, and almost no one knew why. A mint worker on the late shift, surrounded by the metallic hum of machinery, the clinking of coins cascading into bins. One small error, one subtle difference in metal mix or die alignment, and a miracle coin was born, a coin that today, collectors hunt for like buried treasure. For years, these nickels circulated unnoticed. They changed hands, passed through vending machines, sat in jars on kitchen counters. Millions of people held them, but only a few knew their secret. Before we go deeper, take a second to picture it. A simple nickel, 5 cents. Thomas Jefferson's profile on one side, Monticello on the other. But look closer. The D, mint mark, that tiny letter just beside Jefferson's portrait, holds the key to a mystery worth a fortune. That year, the mint was transitioning between old dies and new ones, and multiple variations were accidentally struck. Some of these coins were made with experimental planchets, metal blanks that didn't match the standard composition. Others had unusual die cracks, misalignments, or doubled features that only sharp-eyed collectors could spot. The rarest of them all, the $1 million nickel, was struck on a transitional planchet, possibly meant for a foreign coin, giving it a slightly different weight, color, and texture. Every serious collector knows that 1982 was a turning point in U.S. coinage, especially for pennies and nickels. But few realize just how many hidden treasures from that year are still out there. Imagine being the person who finds one. A coin hiding in plain sight for over 40 years, sitting in a drawer or a coin jar, just waiting to be discovered. Now, let's talk about how to identify it. Because this part could change everything. First, you'll need a good magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Start by looking closely at the mint mark, the small d for Denver. On genuine rare errors, the D might appear slightly tilted, doubled, or punched deeper than usual. The surface around it might show subtle ripples or texture differences. Next, check the color and weight. The standard 1982 D nickel should weigh exactly 5 grams and have a silvery gray tone. But the rare transitional coin often weighs slightly more or less, sometimes around 4.8 or 5.2 grams, and can have a faint golden or copper tint due to the experimental metal blend. It might look duller or slightly different under the light, like it's aged in a strange way. Then, study Jefferson's face. On these rare nickels, collectors have noticed small doubling on the eye, the lips, or the date 1982. The steps of Monticello on the reverse may also appear less defined or unevenly struck, signs of a die that was misaligned during minting. These are not ordinary imperfections. They're fingerprints of a one-of-a-kind coin. Every few years, another 1982 D nickel surfaces, and when it does, it sends shockwaves through the collecting world. One such coin sold for over $1.8 million in a private sale, astonishing even veteran numismatists. They say lightning never strikes twice, but in the world of rare coins, it does, and it could strike in your hands. A collector sorting through a box of old nickels left behind by his grandfather. He notices one that looks slightly off, heavier, darker, something strange about the mint mark. He takes it to a local coin shop. Within weeks, experts verify it's an ultra-rare 1982D transitional strike. A 5-cent coin becomes a life-changing discovery worth more than $1 million. That it's stories like these that keep collectors awake at night, checking every coin, hoping to find the next legend. Because with coins, history hides in the smallest details. The smallest imperfection can mean the difference between 5 cents and a fortune. If you're watching this, take this as your sign. Grab your change jar, your old coin album, your forgotten drawers. Hold each 1982D nickel under the light and look closely. Tilt it. Feel its weight. Check that mint mark again. Because one of those coins might not just be a nickel. It might be your ticket to $1 million story. And remember, when you're checking, don't rush. The thrill of discovery isn't just in finding the coin. It's in the hunt, the patience, the possibility that something extraordinary could be hiding in the ordinary. The best part? Every coin you hold connects you to America's history. The workers, the machines, the tiny miracles of imperfection that make each piece unique. There's a reason collectors call the 1982D Jefferson nickel the ghost coin. It's elusive, mysterious, and defies logic. Some say only a handful exist. Others believe there are still a few left, quietly waiting in circulation. Maybe in a piggy bank, maybe in a cashier's till, maybe in your pocket right now. The day you realize that a coin you've ignored for decades, a coin worth 5 cents, is suddenly appraised at over $1 million. The rush, the disbelief, the moment your life changes forever. That's what makes coin collecting so powerful. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story ends in unimaginable wealth. Don't stop looking. Don't assume your coins are just coins. The next great discovery could come from someone just like you. Someone who took the time to look a little closer. Because this isn't just about money. It's about legacy, history, and the magic of finding something no one else noticed.